And stand very by, dear panellists, because we do have a minister to speak to this morning, Richard Holden. He's the Roads and Local Transport Minister. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Happy Brexit anniversary, first of all. Is it a happy anniversary? Do you think this is a Brexit that anybody wanted?
Well, I think we're moving in the right direction in several big areas. One of those is the Edinburgh reforms, Solvency II, helping ensure our financial sector can really keep head and shoulders above the rest of Europe. I think you've seen some of the benefits over the last couple of years. The very difficult time we had with the vaccine. We wouldn't have done that if we were in the European Union. Some of the reforms coming through around the way we can farm better, already coming through. So I think we are seeing some of those benefits. And then one of the big ones, those trade deals we're starting to sign around the world. Already better deal with Japan than we had previously.
Come on, what are these trade deals? What are these trade deals you're beginning to sign off around the world? You know why? Because nobody believes you. Were you signing a big trade deal with the USA? Don't think so. You signing one with China? Don't think so. You've got Australia and New Zealand worth 0.01% value to our economy. Come off it.
Well, we've already done a big one with Japan as well. Already improved on what people said we could do, improved on the deal with the European Union as well. But, I mean, you're not going to tell me, Eamonn, that you're not glad of the vaccine programme that happened in the UK, which didn't happen in the rest of Europe.
I'm wondering why we're going to hell in a handcart, really. I'm wondering why there's no money in the country to pay all the public service workers, because we've got no trade deals that we were promised after Brexit. So never mind about the vaccination. Show me the money.
Well, we certainly do have some good deals, and I also say that you look at the difference between the UK and Germany since 2016. The UK is going ahead despite all of the Ramona predictions. I want to keep backing Britain as we go out into the world. Of course, there's still a lot more to do, but I think we're on the right track.
Don't believe you.
I just want to pick up on the point about vaccine rollout.
I mean, it's just not true, is it, Eamonn? You can't just say we've not got them when we've got over 80 with countries around the world.
What are they worth? I mean, they're worth
I'm usually on GBNews, and we're not. Well, I don't think the trade deal with Japan's worth naff all. I don't think our new agreement with the European Union's worth naff all.
So what are we doing? We're into
they're worth tens of billions of pounds,
or what are we doing?
Billions of pounds a year each.
Billions or millions? Billions or millions?
No, all these trade deals are worth billions of pounds, but the key thing is what we're doing is adding to where Britain would have been if we'd been in the EU, because we're making them better than we would have been trapped in that single market. And I think the real issue there is when we were negotiating there, we were part of 27. There was 27 different voices at the table. We were part of that. Now we're able to really emphasise on what the UK does best. That's why we've got that better trade deal with Japan. Yes, you've already mentioned Australia and New Zealand. We're looking at that big Pacific Rim deal as well, which is really going to be where the markets of the future are really expanding rapidly. That's what the basis of the New Zealand and Australia does. It opens up Indonesia, Chile, and big deals all around the Pacific Rim with those fastest growing economies in the world. That's where Britain needs to be, positioned with the fastest growing economies of the world in the longer term, not stuck with the European Union.
Well, I'm glad you've mentioned fastest-growing economies, because a big report out by the IMF today has been pretty damning of the state of our economy. They say it's to shrink faster than any other G7 nation. You mentioned Germany a moment ago. It leaves the economy languishing behind, wait for it, Germany and even Russia, with both countries expected to eke out of growth this year, unlike us. It's a damning indictment, isn't it, on the Chancellor, whose own tax policies have been singled out as one of the causes of the problems.
Well, what we've seen actually over the last couple of years, this isn't a forecast, this is what's actually happened. Both the IMF and OECD said the UK would grow more slowly than other countries, but let's look at what's actually happened. Actually, we've grown faster than those countries. We've grown faster than Germany since 2016. We've grown faster than France, Italy, Japan since 2010. We're actually outperforming these predictions. Now, I'm not saying there aren't headwinds internationally, there certainly are, but I think that Britain can outperform just like we have done and beat these forecasts just like we have done over the last couple of years. OK, well, I'm glad you think that, and you seem dismissive of forecasts, but what about the views of hugely successful Sir James Dyson, who says that your economic policies are stupid, or Archie Norman, the chairman of M&S? The Institute of Directors has called Hunt's strategy empty, and the British Chambers of Commerce has said that constant policy changes are a recipe for disaster. Well, look, I think over the last couple of years we have had to see some difficult times, and we have seen some stability brought in by Rishi and Jeremy. What we're seeing not is constantly policy changes, but is the government concentrating on 5 top priorities. First of all, dealing with the boats. Secondly, dealing with the backlog. But we've got to get debt under control, we've got to get inflation under control, and we've got to get growth going. Those are the 5 priorities of the government. They're the same priorities that my constituents in North West Durham have and people across the country have. What I want to see is us being able to grow the economy, and which enables us to pay down that debt, but crucially we've got to keep inflation low, because the worst thing that can happen to any economy is inflation continues to take hold. We've seen some really difficult figures out from Germany as well in the last couple of days, well below where they'd forecast to be, but I think that we can really buck the trend. We've beaten the forecasts from the IMF and the OECD over the last couple of years, and I think we can certainly do it again. We've already heard from the Governor of the Bank of England that he thinks that any recession here in the UK is going to be shallower because of the policies of Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak, which is good, but we need to get back to growth as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and of course, having huge strikes tomorrow, 500,000 workers across 7 unions is really going to help with growth, isn't it?
No, it's not, and I really don't want to see the unions out on strike. What I want to see is the unions sitting down, looking at the overall circumstances, accepting reasonable pay deals. I think that's what's really important for people in the UK. They don't want to see kids' education disrupted, not after COVID. They don't want to see hospital appointments disrupted, not after the couple of years we've seen with the backlogs building up because of that. What they want to see is our public services operating in a sensible way and in a way which can help grow the economy more broadly. We don't want to see transport workers on strike either on the rail sector. Some of the unions have already settled, like the TSSA. Others are still not there yet. I hope we can get people over the line, because I don't want to see strikes. I want to see us all working together to try and get through what has been a very difficult time with inflation, which has hit all of the world, let's be honest, following those big price spikes in energy. We have to get into a situation where we are seeing that growth come through, and we can only do that if we're all pulling in the same direction. And I hope what we see in the next few weeks is some of those public sector unions coming to the table again.
I'm just looking at a report into the way the BBC cover economics, and it must be a source of frustration for you as a local transport minister to see that the big shiny projects, the HS2s and railways in general, get more coverage, far more coverage than there ever is coverage on what happens with local transport, which is the only transport option for many people, and spending and development on that. What sort of condition is local transport? And when you say you're responsible for local transport, what does that mean, Minister?
That covers everything from tram networks, bus networks, devolved administrations, the devolved powers to the mayors, all those transport deals you're seeing across the country. One of the big things that we've done over the last few months is to try and get passenger ridership numbers up. That's why we've introduced the £2 bus fare all across the country outside of London, a maximum for a single with over 4,600 routes, 95% plus of operators taking part. I want to see, through these difficult times, us trying to get people back on the bus after what's been really tough times for people, with lower cost journeys, and also trying to encourage some of those people who perhaps have been a bit scared to go out following the COVID pandemic back on the bus network, so we can save them for the long term.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to squeeze in one question before we let you go, and this is about the European Convention on Human Rights. Your colleague Suella Braverman saying that unless you sort out the situation with illegal crossings of the Channel, then you will lose at the next election. Do you agree with her that the ECHR is the obstacle to solving this problem? Do you want to see out of it?
What I want to see is the government delivering on this. The boats is one of the biggest issues for my constituents, stopping that illegal migration.
But that's a yes.
And I'm fed up of seeing it. My constituents are fed up of seeing it, and I think we need to take whatever measures are necessary to get there.
OK.
That's Richard Holden. He's the Roads and Local Transport Minister. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.